Ozarks on Thursday, the 28th day of September, year of our Lord 2017. Welcome to the John Moore Show. The prepper tip of the day, I haven't mentioned this for a while, but it bears mentioning frequently. Many of you I know are struggling financially, and I wanted you to consider getting a second source of income. This would be a home-based business. There's many ways to do that now, especially with the Internet. One simple and easy way is to set up an eBay seller's account and initially at least start selling off your dust collectors. Most American homes, most of the time, have dust collectors. These would be in your closets, basements, attics, garages, barns, and so forth. Dust collectors, items that you haven't used for years, maybe gifts that were given to you that were never opened, and so forth. All you need is a high-speed Internet connection, a PayPal account, an eBay seller's account, and a digital camera. Once you've got those things, which are not difficult to do, you need the knowledge, and eBay has tutorials to teach you how to sell on eBay. Chances are you already know somebody doing it, by the way. And then you're off to the races, selling initially dust collectors, and then moving forward from there to get some expertise. There's a gentleman I know in Prague, Czech Republic. His expertise is men's wristwatches, and he's making a fairly decent living buying men's wristwatches and selling them on eBay. So that's your prepper tip of the day. All the issues we're concerned about continue to move forward. We'll have open lines this first half hour. Call number is 800-313-9443. Got a question or comment? We'd love to hear it. I understand in the last 24 hours, Mr. Hugh Hefner, the founder of Playboy magazine, passed away at age 91. That's in the news. I was watching a news report this morning, a U.S. congressman talking about how they want to make the tax returns simply a postcard. Well, isn't that special? Keep in mind there's tens of thousands, including many IRS employees who do not file tax returns. I don't want to get into a lengthy discussion about the U.S. tax code, but it's not what most people think it is. Not even close. Not even close. It's funny, these news cycles, how they come and go. I was watching Geraldo Rivera. Looks like he's got blonde hair, by the way, now, in Puerto Rico, doing a report, and there was a interview with a U.S. Navy lieutenant who was helping get a hospital up and running again, talking about 2 inches of water in this particular hospital. The people in Puerto Rico are really hurting. I wasn't surprised to read on Drudge Report a couple of days ago that half of the adults in this country, in the United States, don't know that Puerto Ricans are just as American as they are, that Puerto Rico is part of the United States, and everybody born in Puerto Rico is an American citizen. Half the Americans in this country don't even know that. But that did not surprise or shock me. I kind of expected that, given the level of education we have in this country. It's pretty dismal. It really is pretty dismal to understand the real nature of awareness and knowledge and education in this country. But that is reality, and there's very little we can do to change it, is there? Except work with our children, work with our grandchildren to get them an education above and beyond anything provided by the public schools, which they took a educational system that in the 1930s was not broken. Our public education system in the 1930s was turning out the best and brightest students on the planet, in my opinion, based on performance. And where are we now, 70 years later? 75, 80 years later? Well, we're way down. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but in many categories, the educational level of U.S. students is 10 from the top, 20 from the top, 40 from the top. That's my reality. I don't know what yours is, but that's my reality. And there's two ways you can look at this. You can look at it and believe that men and women with PhDs in education, the best and the brightest. They didn't know what they were doing when they eliminated, for example, phonics from teaching children how to read and substituted sight reading. But they didn't know this would forever limit people to a vocabulary of a few thousand words at the most, forever create men and women who didn't find reading pleasant or enjoyable. You can believe they didn't know that, or you can believe that they knew precisely what they were doing when they took a system that worked very well, teaching phonics, and got rid of it. Now, my generation is the transitional generation. The highest SAT scores ever recorded was the year I graduated from high school, 1966, 51 years ago. The SAT scores have consistently gone down every year since. Let me say that carefully and slowly again. 51 years. That's nearly 3 generations if you go with 20 years to a generation. Every year, since 1966, SAT scores have gone down. Now, they've changed the SAT tests not once, not twice, but 3 times to artificially give the impression that the SAT scores haven't gone down as much. But that's all that is smoke and mirror changes to give that impression. That's all it is. And everybody in education knows this, by the way. It's no secret. No secret at all. Now, it's been about, I'm going to say, mid to late 1980s, somewhere in there, that the outrage of no longer teaching phonics got to the point where they being the public schools, reluctantly had to begin teaching phonics again. In fact, there were companies, one of the more famous ones, they had a program called Hooked on Phonics that they were promoting. So the private sector was stepping up to the plate to give parents tools they needed to teach their children phonics. Well, this was so humiliating and so embarrassing for the public schools that they also had to start teaching phonics, which some did, some didn't. Some started teaching in kindergarten where they should, and others didn't at all. Okay. I know in one of my local school districts here, in my neighborhood, they don't start teaching phonics until the 6th grade, which is a big, what are they doing? What's the point? You wait till the 6th grade, it's too late. The opportunity to properly teach phonics came and went 7 years before. But that's what goes on. If you know when they start teaching phonics in your school district, give us a call at 800-313-9443. Do they teach phonics in the schools that your children and grandchildren go to? Let us know at 800-313-9443. The homeschool children, on the other hand, almost without exception, are taught phonics beginning at age 4 or 5. That's about the right time to start teaching phonics. And homeschool children learn how to properly read, write, and speak the English language, which is the foundation for literally everything else. I don't care if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an automobile mechanic, carpenter. That's the foundation for everything else, is language skills. You think not? You don't think a carpenter needs language skills? And a good foundation for everybody in mathematics? Of course. A carpenter who can't read blueprints is going to have a very, very limited career. How can you read blueprints if you don't have a foundation in mathematics and language both? Well, you can't. Obviously, you can't. Automobile mechanic? You ever read an automobile repair manual? There is a lot of complexity there. Talking about the engineering of an automobile. Once again, for a man, it's typically men, but it could be a woman, to have a successful career in automobile, diesel, truck mechanics. They have to have the same foundation in language and mathematics. Granted, they don't have to go into advanced mathematics. That would serve no purpose to be a diesel mechanic. But basic grasp of mathematics is essential for a successful career as an automobile diesel mechanic. Of course it is. That's a given. And what they're doing is attempting to bypass those foundations and teach these children minimal things to get them by in whatever their chosen career may be. Very minimal. Cursory education. That's what they're doing. Very cursory. We have a population that doesn't read. According to the American Library Association, 3% of Americans have a library card. That's 3 out of 100, 3%. Half of them use their library card in their reading, which is wrong. That's fine. The other half, which is 1.5% of American adults, use their library card and use it for something serious in terms of research or education, things of that nature. That's pretty dismal. It really is. Now, granted, with the modern age, there's lots of things you can access on the Internet, on one hand. On the other, reading a book on a backlit screen, which a computer screen is backlit, a Kindle Fire is backlit, it hurts your eyes after a while, for very good reason. These screens weren't meant to be hour after hour after hour. They simply weren't. But that's what people do. Now, many of the men and women I associate with, they love books, physical books, ink on paper, bound books. I do. I don't know how many books are in my personal collection. Between myself and Dr. Moore, we're probably at 500, 800 volumes, maybe 1,000. I don't know. At our location where we live, we have an expanded library with some friends that is probably in the range of 2,000 to 3,000 volumes of books. And that's quite frankly not a lot of books. You may think it is if you're not a reader, but it really isn't. My Kindle will hold, I believe, up to 3,000 books. And for you folks that, if you have a Kindle, I hope you did get a Kindle Fire. They promote that. That's the one with the color screen. Kindle Fire is a backlit screen, just like a computer. The standard Kindle is not a backlit screen. You can't read it in the dark because it's not backlit. That's what you want. If you want to read, if you get a Kindle for reading books, you want the regular Kindle that does not have a backlit screen. Their screen is very similar to ink on paper in terms of how it affects your eyes. And you can literally use that screen hours at a time, many, many hours at a time, and your eyes don't get that tired, fatigued feeling that they get viewing a computer screen or a Kindle Fire. I hope they find this helpful. Excuse me, I had to sneeze there. I am in a marginal area. I'm on the road. If the signal drops, I apologize. I'm looking out the window of a vehicle here going 70 miles an hour, and beautiful territory in Nebraska, approaching Wyoming. Got a light rain. Temperature in the mid to high 60s. Beautiful. This country is so big and so beautiful. You really need to drive across it to appreciate the size and the beauty of this country. You really do. Education. Books. Now, in my capacity as an investigator, which I started my training as a private detective 44 years ago in 1973. I've been in hundreds of homes over these past 44 years. Many hundreds of homes. in my capacity as an investigator. One thing I noticed very early is that most American homes, most of the time, don't have books. They don't. They simply don't, which I initially found shocking, but after I got over the shock, I came to realize that's simply the way it is. And the homes that do have books typically may have 8 or 10, maybe 20 books, which would be a lot for most American homes, quite frankly. There would be. Or sometimes a home will have books that are simply on display. My parents had books. They had maybe a collection of, well, I'm going to say 50 or 60 books that were they were nice books, many of them leather bound, on display on a bookshelf in their living room in the different homes they had. But I never once, that I can recall, in the 19 years I resided in that home, I have no recollection of my parents ever reading a book of any kind for any reason. I really don't. Maybe they did at one time, but not while I was around. It was television. That was it. Television was the way they spent their discretionary time. And I'm pretty sure that the Moore household was the rule, not the exception. And when I do visit a person's home and I see they have several bookshelves with maybe 100 or 200 or 500 books, I know that I'm in good company. I'm in the home of somebody who actually loves books, loves reading, loves to educate themselves on a myriad of topics. Typically, most readers will have 2 or 3 or 4 different topics that they like to specialize in, and then other things they'll read just because they want the knowledge. I know I'm that way. My wife, Dr. Moore, is that way. And I do love the modern age. A friend of mine sent me a short story, I guess you'd call it. It was a 50-page document, a short book, nonfiction. And at the end of it, there was a bibliography. So he writes me a note. He says, "John, what do you think about this book?" I said, "I really enjoyed it." I pointed out a couple of things that I knew about they were referencing to in the book. And then finally I mentioned what I really liked was the bibliography at the end of this little book, which was a list of 12 or 15 other books that I could read for further information. And I'll probably pick out 3 or 4 of them and go ahead and read them, one of which I already had read. But that's how I further my knowledge, is to go to the bibliography, see what's there, pick and choose the ones that I think might help me. And then I go to Amazon, and I'll see if there's a Kindle version available. And sometimes I'm just completely delighted to find not only is the Kindle version available, but I can get it for free, which is very delightful. And I will point, click, and next thing I know, that book is on my Kindle device, ready for me to read at my leisure without even having to go to the library. Something I would like to see, which it would take some time and money to do, would have the entire contents of the Library of Congress available online. Now that would be breathtaking. That would be phenomenal to have that kind of access to the contents of the Library of Congress online. And eventually, why not, on flash drives? And that we're quickly approaching the ability to do that, I believe. I haven't talked to my IT guy, Tim Spencer, and see if that would be a possibility. So, yeah. We should have had a break now, I believe, by now. I don't know why we haven't. Maybe my engineer can let me know, but I think we're past break time already. So, okay. Education. I've never really had any great desire or goal to educate children. I've been in a couple of situations. There was about 12 years ago, I was invited to Career Day at the local junior high school, and I did that. I did a 1-hour presentation to the youngsters there, and I noticed while I was speaking to them that I had the attention of maybe 1/3 the class. Now, junior high, I guess these would be 12, 13-year-olds, something like that. That sounds about right. 6th graders. And about 1/3 were staring out the window or twiddling their, or doing whatever they were doing. I'm not sure what they were doing. And another third appeared to be either asleep or close to being asleep. And like I said, about 1/3 were paying attention to me. I was giving a presentation on being a private investigator and paralegal, so they could get some idea about what that career path might look like. All the presenters gathered for lunch in the cafeteria. We had a nice lunch, and the teachers and the staff were very hospitable. It was a good event, but I came away from there with the impression that if this is what is going on in an average classroom, in terms of children being awake and alert and paying attention, we're in deep trouble. That was my impression. Let's see. I did another one at a Catholic elementary school. This has been 17, 18 years ago. Similar presentation, a career day kind of thing. And the students were, I think, almost all, there might have been a couple exceptions, were all African American. It's a Catholic school. They're all wearing their little Catholic school uniforms. It was a mixed class, boys and girls together. And I asked the class to tell me what career they were deciding, what they wanted to be. And I was a bit shocked and surprised to have a substantial proportion of these boys and girls, and I would say substantial, maybe 20% or so, 20, 25%, were saying they wanted to be attorneys, which I felt to be a bit surprising and a bit unrealistic, both, but that was what their stated goals were. At the time I was, this may have been longer ago, it may have been 20 years ago. Cell phones were just getting started, and I didn't have a cell phone, but I was carrying 2 pagers on my belt for 2 different communications, things that I needed to get done. And the one little boy, he saw that I was wearing 2 pagers, and he made the statement that I must be really important because I was carrying 2 pagers. I kind of smiled and out of my head, and I said, yeah, that means I'm important because I got 2 pagers. But that's, that was the way a 9 or 10-year-old would think back then, that you're important because you got 2 pagers. We as a country are doing a great disservice to our youngsters with these federal involvement in education. A great disservice. The system we had with local control worked fine, was not broken, didn't need to be fixed. Why would you fix something that's not broken? The American Legion post where I'm the commander was a 2-room schoolhouse up until the mid-1960s. And we had, all over the United States, tens of thousands of men and women who went on to become accountants, lawyers, doctors, scientists, engineers, come out of these country schoolhouses. We did, seriously. Well, I'm not a big fan of Abraham Lincoln. In fact, I think Abraham Lincoln was a communist traitor, in my opinion, on one hand. On the other, look at his modest beginnings, growing up the way he did in rural Illinois in the 19th century, early to mid part of the 19th century. Very humble beginnings. Now, the American education system was not broken. did not need to be fixed. What they have done, consolidating these schools, they really took a system that was working perfectly fine, and they did break it. Now, I'm a big supporter of high school athletics to help motivate youngsters to stay in school that may not stay in school otherwise, that may drop out otherwise. That's a good thing. If football, basketball, track, gymnastics, cross country, whatever it is, baseball, if that helps motivate a teenage boy or teenage girl to stay in school who might drop otherwise, hey, I'm all for it. Get those youngsters through there, get them that high school diploma. One of the things that anybody who has employees finds out is that high school dropouts, whether they do or do not have a GED, rarely make a good employee. There are exceptions, granted. My kid brother. Okay. We have a break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. I've worked with men and women involved in the high-end shelters for years. With the Ozark Survival Homesteads, you get things you don't get with the high-end shelters. You get a opportunity to be in the bunker, of course. You also get a home, a 60 by 90 lot. You get your storable food, your livestock share, your garden, greenhouse share, your seed bank share. One person to have everything they need, right at $25,000. For a family of three, $37,000. You really need to check this out. It's very unique. At my website, you'll see the Ozark Survival Homesteads on the left side of my homepage. Go there, read that one page, fill out the form with your name, your email address, and your telephone number, and I will forward that to the guys and gals at the Ozark Survival Homesteads. Check it out. You'll be very glad you did. Thank you very much.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 28th of September. We're hoping that Tom Berryhill would call. And if he does, Tom, are you there?
I'm here, John.
Okay, great. Well, we begin these conversations every Thursday, talking to my friend Tom Berryhill, the manufacturer of the energy cleaner, about the energy cleaner, and we begin these conversations with our disclaimer. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, John. Good morning. We're not doctors or medical professionals. We don't diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. The information discussed today is for your education and entertainment only. If you have a medical condition requiring treatment, you should utilize the services of a medical doctor, chiropractor, or other competent practitioner.
Thank you, sir. That said, Tom, you and I had the opportunity, without mentioning any name or location or specific disease, to talk to the wife of a gentleman who has a chronic condition. We were sitting at a restaurant, and we spoke with her for, what would it be, about 15 minutes or so, I guess. And it was a great opportunity to give her a brief education, give her some references to things she can look at further, both my website and a book that I mentioned to her, and help her educate herself so she can make an educated, informed decision about how to proceed and whether or not to get an energy cleaner for herself and her husband. That was a great opportunity, wasn't it, Tom?
It really was, John, and I truly hope that nice lady looks into this information that she was given and decides to try out the energy cleaner. I really think it would help her husband. She needs to just simply give it a try, and I have a feeling it won't take long, and he'll start seeing some really good results.
Well, I agree, and I was sure to mention to her, and this is for everybody, I was sure to mention to her that I offer, for me to her personally, a 30-day money-back guarantee on the energy cleaner. For a lot of these people, working class Americans, $285 is enough money that they're concerned about losing that much money, and they should be. So when I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, that takes the edge off that concern, doesn't it, Tom?
It really does. And thing to realize, though, is that very few people have shipped anything back for a refund. They start getting results, and they keep the energy cleaner, and becomes a valued asset in their household.
Well, many weeks, the past 8 years, I've sold 10 a week. That would sound like 500 a year. And out of those, I could count, I got 2 hands with 10 fingers. I think that would be able to be enough fingers and thumbs to count the ones that I've had to receive back from people over these years. Not many. Not very many. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's what we're talking about. This is radio. If you're a regular listener, you've heard us many times. If you're a new listener, this is the first time. We're talking about a marvelous healing device. That's what it is. A healing device. Electronic healing device is what I put on the paperwork when I ship these overseas. It's about the size of a cigar box. It takes 9 D as in Delta, 9 D-cell batteries. No on-off switch, no gauges, no dials. It simply has one LED light that alternately flashes red and green, telling you 2 things. First of all, that it's working. The second of all, it's changing polarity. There's one place to plug in one plug with one wire. There's not 2 wires, just one wire. And for these electrical engineers, they're totally baffled, by the way. I know, Tom, you're sitting there smiling to yourself because you were also. Where's the positive side? We got the negative side. Where's the positive? So only one wire, and that signal comes off that wire. You can attach that to the mattress pad that I sell and sleep on that mattress pad, or you can use a small pad that I sell and wrap that around an injured body part, ankle, knee, elbow, wrist, whatever it might be, around your neck, or sit on it like I am right now on a road trip. The over-the-road truck drivers love the energy cleaner. And another way to use it, of course, is to use the bathtub method. And there you just take a metal spoon, no sharp edges, drop the metal spoon with the alligator clip attached to the energy cleaner. Metal spoon only, keep the energy cleaner dry, into the bathtub, or hot tub, by the way, and relax in there and enjoy that comforting warm water while you're being energized with that signal. Now, here's what's happening, and of course, you can educate yourself at my website, at thelibertyman.com. Read the patent application information. The technology that went into this which was really cutting edge at the time, and still is cutting edge, how this thing came to be. And the energy cleaner puts out what we call an electrostatic signal. And this is something that can be measured by the proper instruments, by the way, if you have them. Well, almost nobody has these instruments, but if you do, you can measure this signal. The signal goes to every cell in your body, flushing out toxins and bringing in fresh nutrition. That's what it does. And every cell in your body is like a small pump, pumping in fresh nutrition, pumping out toxins. And they can start getting clogged up, start getting slowing down, and that's when they're in the process of dying. Well, with the energy cleaner, those cells that are hurting and struggling get re-energized, and the healing process begins. This is how we mitigate pain. Now, Tom, most people understand that whether you're taking Aleve or aspirin or one of the stronger prescription pain relievers, they act as a blocking mechanism, blocking the signal from the pain getting to your brain, don't they, Tom?
That's correct. It simply numbs the pain, but doesn't correct the underlying cause of the pain.
Yep, that's how it stops it. Now, what the energy cleaner does, the energy cleaner doesn't block the source of the pain. What the energy cleaner does is goes directly to the source of the pain and begins healing the source of the pain. And that's where the pain mitigation comes in. We focus on pain mitigation. It could be joint pain, arthritis pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Not not getting a great night's sleep, it'll help there also. And as I frequently say, because it's so important, as my wife, Dr. Moore, says, when you sleep is when you heal. Bottom line, if you're not sleeping, you can't possibly heal. Or if you do, it's going to be a terribly long, drawn-out process as opposed to a relatively short process to get proper healing. So when you go to my website, you also see the testimonials for people we know, like Steve Whitman, who's been on this show many times, where now it's getting to fall. Steve runs a fish camp up in Maine, and they start shutting down in September, and then he's got more discretionary time to write books, and it's kind of fascinating how one thing leads to another. Steve Whitman initially started talking to on this radio show and began writing at Tim Spencer's website. Writing at Tim Spencer's website segued into writing his first book, which dealt with his personal experience surviving being shot 3 times by a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol. That book segued into writing many other books. And Steve's become a friend. I haven't made it up to Maine yet to meet him personally, or Boston, or Florida, because he spends his summers in Florida, and which is a lot better situation than Maine. I don't particularly care for cold weather myself. But you can read his testimony there. You can read other testimony there of people who literally have had their lives saved and got their lives back using energy cleaner. And it's about the most satisfying work a human being can do, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, John, it really is. I've been at it now for nearly 18 years, and it was really enjoyable meeting many different people along the way that had serious pain issues, health issues, and we've been able to help them get on with their life, get some good healing, and never have to look backwards to that difficult time. So, and of course, they help us to spread the word, and their friends and family will order units when they see the results that can be obtained from the energy cleaner. Well, they want one too. So it a lot of word of mouth, and then of course you get units out from your advertising on your show. But it helps us to get this technology out worldwide and help many, many, many thousands of people.
Well, it does worldwide now. A lot of people who like Don Kubley, for example, who'll be on at the second hour, they get to know me, they get to know my listeners, and people like Don Kubley, who's a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, he figures out pretty quick that the listeners to the John Moore Show are extraordinary, exceptional individuals. They actually do own and actually do read books. They're not dummies. And that's why you and I, Tom, have been so successful with energy cleaners on the John Moore Show. It's because of the quality of people we have listening. They actually do own and actually do read books, which most Americans don't own and don't read books. So they can go to my website and they can read the testimonials. They can see that I offer 30-day money-back guarantee, and they can find out and determine for themselves very quickly that the pain issues they're dealing with is something that can be mitigated with the energy cleaner successfully at no risk and no harm. In fact, there was the original developer of the energy cleaner, Lee Kroc. He was sued by the state of Ohio, and one of the outcomes of the lawsuit was the experts determined that this device could not possibly cause any harm. No matter what it did or did not do, it could not cause any harm. And that was out of all the things that happened, it was very expensive and distressful for Mr. Kroc to go through this. But that was one of the good outcomes of that lawsuit, wasn't it?
That's true, it was. And, you know, John, several humorous things came from that trial. See, they had 6 hearings in a trial. They wanted to lock him up for practicing medicine without a license. It was the Ohio State Medical Board that came after Lee Kroc, and they were not too happy about what he was doing. Some some of the mistakes he made was, see, Lee was old school, John. He thought that if you have something that will help people, well, it will be well received. Well, it was not well received by the medical establishment. And, of course, Lee didn't take into consideration who would be watching what he was doing. He had a building right across the street from the courthouse, and he put up a big sign about his healing center, and it was right across from the window, the huge plate glass window in the prosecutor's office. So they took notice of what he was doing. And but anyway, you know that, John, that prosecutor later on, in later years, had medical issues. It was either him or his wife, and he bumped into Lee one day in town. He was back in private practice as an attorney, but mentioned something about some health situations, and Lee set him up with an energy cleaner. I'll tell you what, it came to the point where you would have thought that guy invented the thing. He thought the energy cleaner was the best thing that ever happened after trying to put the inventor in prison. So it's
just
crazy how.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And yeah, but anyway, it was a well-known thing in that part of southeastern Ohio where Lee lived. Everybody knew to come and see him if you had any health issues. He could really help people, and that was his life's work. He was very wealthy. He didn't need the money, and he took all the money from the energy cleaner sales and used it to...
He had a payroll of, what, 300, 400 men and women?
He told me at one point it would vary a little bit, but it was around 430 people between the several companies that he owned.
Well, that's we could do the math pretty quickly at how many dollars per week per person and what kind of payroll that is. It's a breathtaking dollar amount, to say the least.
Yeah, John, Lee always would get concerned around Christmas time. They'd have the company. We had several companies, but they did a combination Christmas party, and they had to do it in shifts, and I think they had to do it over a couple of days just so they could get all the employees into the Christmas party and their families, of course. And the governor of Ohio came to his Christmas party a couple of times, so he knew everybody.
Well, we're looking at a weekly payroll of what, $500,000 or more.
Well, Lee. Yeah, Lee had. I really don't know he shared some financial info with me, which I won't disclose here, but it made my jaw drop.
I bet.
But if you ever talked to that guy, you would have never dreamed he had that kind of wealth. And if you saw him, he just looked like an everyday guy walking down the street.
Well, earlier this week, and last week, I had conversations with Jimmy in Minnesota, who's called into this show a number of times over the years, and Jimmy bought 5 new energy cleaners, and I shipped number 5 to him yesterday, and 'cause I only had 4 in stock, and I shipped the 5th one yesterday. But I'm well into my 8th year of selling these things, Tom, and I noticed by the end of the first year, 8 years ago, people were already buying their 2nd and 3rd units. And once again, going back to the quality of people we have listening, the listeners of John Moore Show are not dummies. If the first one did not work, why would we buy the 2nd one, the 3rd, or in the case of Jimmy in Minnesota, I think he's up to about 8 units now, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, there's always Diane up in Minnesota, or Wisconsin. She bought about 12 or 14 or 15 over the years. Her stated goal at the time was to save the planet one energy cleaner at a time, which is a laudable goal, to say the least, and it's certainly something that would be help as many people as possible. Tim Spencer just got another energy cleaner for his daughter a couple of weeks ago, and she was commenting, his adult daughter, she was commenting how she's getting relief from her various injuries. She's a horse woman, and she's been hurt by horses over the years, which, if you're around horses, of course you're going to be hurt. But it's fun working with people, helping them achieve their goals, helping them get their life back. And as we frequently say, Tom, a lot of times we we don't hear back from these people, do we?
No, we don't, because they get the healing that they were searching for, and they move forward, never to look back again.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Energy Cleaner is at my website at thelibertyman.com. Mattress pads that go with it are right there at thelibertyman.com. You can place your orders right on my website using PayPal, the most secure way to make any payment online. And by the way, PayPal now takes payments. Toll-free our line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say it again, 800-592-9543. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 28th of September. Well, Tom, we make it as easy as we can for people. I do take PayPal, as I mentioned, MasterCard, Visa. Checks can be sent to my address at thelibertyman.com. And if you need to spread out the payments, if you're living in the U.S., PayPal will take payments from you. So we make it just as easy as possible, don't we, Tom?
That's true, John, and everybody needs to remember that the Energy Cleaner is simply a detoxification device. If you can clean out the cells, each individual cell needs to get rid of those toxins and pull in fresh nutrients. They get clogged up, sluggish, they start to putrefy, they can form tumors and masses that are growing in size and causing all kinds of problems. But if you can flush those cells out and get the toxins out of there, which the Energy Cleaner will really help to accomplish, your body will heal itself. It's that simple.
That's right. Well,
it really is, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. You use it while you're sleeping. Of course, some people have the travel pad that you offer, John. They use it while they're driving. That's real helpful. They could take that if they have an office job where they're sitting quite a bit for their work. They can sit on that pad and use the Energy Cleaner all throughout the day while they're at work. Take it home and use it on the bed at night. Put the get the Energy Cleaner cable connected to a spoon and into the bath water. Use it in the bathtub, and they'll get some fast healing and pain relief doing those various methods. Of course, we like to talk about the agricultural uses. If you're into gardening, if you have a greenhouse, if you're doing getting seeds going for your seedlings, this Energy Cleaner technology will rapidly increase the growth rate of those plants. Many people are setting up sprouting trays in their apartment or home, and they can do that right on a windowsill, get some light, some natural sunlight, and use the Energy Cleaner to supply that signal to simply aluminum foil or some aluminum screen wire, and set the plants on that, and they'll grow like you would never believe. So it will greatly assist in those areas.
It'll surprise you. Tim Spencer was surprised at how quickly these tomato seedlings needed to be planted. He really wasn't ready for them. They grew so fast. But that's a good thing, isn't it?
Right. And then in a standard garden, you could use chicken wire as the radiating pad that would just be suspended over the plants. It's real simple to do. Connect the Energy Cleaner to that. Keep it as close to the plants as possible, and of course you'll have to use some sort of fence post and insulators. You don't want that to be grounded, and because that would shunt off the signal from the Energy Cleaner to ground. So you do need to use insulators, and that works quite well.
Right. Well,
there's the music, John. That's the end.
There we are. Appreciate it, Tom. Talk to you soon privately. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Top of the hour break. We'll be back with Don Kubling, and we'll talk about a marvelous product, the domes. Thanks. Stay tuned. All right, we're Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Thursday, the 28th day of September. Prepper tip of the day. Many of you are struggling financially. I want to encourage all of you to please consider getting yourself a second source of income. All you need is an eBay seller's account, high-speed internet connection, a digital camera, a PayPal account, and, of course, your inventory. Inventory would be the dust collectors in your attics, garages, closets, barns, basements, dust collectors, things that you haven't used for years and probably will never use again. Set up your eBay seller's account, get them listed on there. If you need to learn how to do this, there are tutorials at eBay to teach you how to do it, or you can probably find a friend who's already doing it successfully, and get yourself a second stream of income. You'll be very glad you did. We have a patient waiting in the green room, my friend Don Kubley. Don is the CEO of Intershelter Domes. That's intershelterdomes.com. And we have those domes listed for sale at my website. So you can go to my website at thelibertyman.com, see the photographs of these beautiful domes on tropical beaches, in wooded areas, at the Arctic and Antarctic, and in suburban areas. Good morning, Don.
Good morning, Colonel. How are you?
Well, if I felt any better, it wouldn't be legal. How about yourself?
Reporting for duty, sir.
Roger that. Well, Don, I saw Geraldo Rivera this morning on television. He now has blonde hair, by the way. And he's in Puerto Rico.
Does he have a mustache? Does he have a mustache?
He has a blonde mustache now. It was either blonde or light brown. I'm not sure which. Maybe light brown. But he's still, he's doing his TV thing. He's in Puerto Rico, and there was also a story there about a hospital still had 2 inches of water after a week inside the hospital, and they were talking about trying to get this hospital back up and running with the U.S. Navy at their service. Are your first shipment of domes packed up and ready to go down there, or are they already en route?
Oh, they're already en route.
Okay,
well,
I thought so.
Yeah. We've got containers going to St. Martin, to the British Virgin Islands. We got them going to. I've got a guy in L.A. that's talking about 40,000 units for Puerto Rico.
Whoa.
I know that those Caribbean islands were hit hard, but Puerto Rico really looks just catastrophic. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm glad I'm not there.
Well, absolutely. Well, what they're going to find out is that once you get these domes, you get them set up, realize this is what we should have been doing all along, building these things instead of these square houses that catch the wind and blow away.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, and you've seen the designs for the decks, you can put these things as high off the ground as you want. And so if you do have a storm surge, which is what is one of the most dangerous things about a hurricane or floods, of course, is you just sit up there and watch the water flow by. It's and have a hurricane party.
Right. Well, I would do steel I-beams or steel reinforced concrete columns. One or the other, big sonotube, maybe 18 or 24 inches in diameter, and get that sucker 20 feet off the ground, and just watch the water go by and have a hurricane party.
Yeah, there's a product called the Bigfoot. I'm sure you got Google in front of you there. Google Bigfoot, Bigfoot anchor systems. And it's an amazing invention. This guy has these. It looks like a mushroom on the bottom, and then there's a tube that comes up from it as high as you want, 3 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, and it's just plastic. It's empty plastic, and you dig a hole, and you stick this plastic mushroom with the long stem in it down underneath the ground, and then you fill it with concrete. I know it sounds simple, and it really is, and the guy that invented it's got to be a bazillionaire, but But it could not be easier. You just, bury the mushroom part down 3, 4, 5 feet under the ground, and make the stem as as high as you want. You can make it 20 feet high if you want, and you put 4 of these bloody things out there as your main bases, and then put support beams across them, and you're done.
Right. It's Bigfoot. What again? Bigfoot.
It's called Bigfoot Anchor Systems.
Anchor Systems. I don't have internet in front of me right now, but I'm making a note of that, and I'll be looking at it. Well, that reminds me, for the better part of a year, helping engineer and build AT&T microwave tower foundations. And they had of course, these are 100 and 100 foot and 150 foot steel towers. And they had a similar anchoring system. Of course, it was all done on site with a pyramid shape that could be 16 by 16 or 20 by 20 or 24 by 24, all underground. Where all you saw on top of the ground was 2 by 2 feet, where there's a massive piece of concrete and steel under the ground to anchor the towers. So that's a similar system. It sounds like, except it's something that could be done on a smaller scale for a home. And it sounds very workable and very doable.
Well, and it's so simple. The plastic the plastic mushrooms that hold the concrete, you can pick it up and carry it around. A child can pick it up and carry it around. It's light. It's easy to handle. You stick it in the ground, and then you bring your however you're going to get your concrete out there, and you fill it up, and when it dries, you got yourself concrete pilings. It's just an amazing system.
Well, I'm sure you'd put some steel in there also, not just concrete.
Oh, yeah, you could. Sure. That's easy to do, too. You just stick the rebar down into the stem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat. Well, there's always creative new ways to solve engineering problems.
But you're right,
Right.
And the same thing is happening in Haiti and all through those Caribbean islands, John. You're absolutely right. They rebuild these stick houses. Some of them, almost on the shack level. The ones that aren't rich hoteliers. And every 5-10 years, like clockwork, one of these big hurricanes rolls through, and they lose everything they have. The domes will be there 50 years from now, and 50 hurricanes from now. They're not going anywhere. And I think you're right. In fact, I'm going to send you. I don't think I've ever sent you the testimony I did before the Homeland Security Committee in Congress. After Katrina, the chairman of the committee, a congressman named Benny Thompson, 25-year congressman out of Mississippi, asked me to come back, and the title of the hearing was "New and Innovative Disaster Relief Housing in the Wake of the Katrina Debacle," or the Katrina, where they bought 75,000 trailers that all made people sick, and they're so toxic they don't know what to do with them anymore. They can't bury them; they're so toxic. And after this hearing, he wrote a letter to President Clinton at the Clinton Foundation saying we need tens of thousands of these things stockpiled and sent to Haiti immediately.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Haiti's had problems for decades. That's nothing new.
Yeah. Well, their problem is their system, their political system.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about intershelter domes. This is a system of housing that is inexpensive. As far as we know, is permanent. The original one. How old now? Still in service?
The first prototypes were made about 30 years ago, but every single dome ever made is still in use. My boat was built in 1962 of the old-fashioned fiberglass I used back then, and it looks like the day it was launched today, and that's now over 50 years old. So, we say 30 years. That's because of how long they've been around, but they're going to be around a long time. You're on a cell phone, aren't you, John? Because he's never faded in and out before. Yeah. I'll just keep talking until he gets out of that shadow. Are you back on there, Colonel? Okay. So the great things about the domes is because they're just basically land yachts, they're fiberglass and stainless steel. They're going to be there decades, generations from the day you buy it, and because of the low cost of these things, they'll be paid off immediately or in a matter of a very short period of time, and the next 5-6 decades is for free. So it's a great combination. No worries. Boy, it must have been an important meeting, huh? Oh, no worries. So with these hurricanes going on down in the Caribbean, the other thing is that if they send down, say, for example, for immediate shelter, tents, and they get another storm through there, all those things become as projectiles. They'll be on the next island over. Whereas if they send domes, the next time the hurricane comes through, they just hunker down in their domes and watch it fly by. So it's just vastly superior to anything else that they could send down there. And that, by the way, that goes for trailers too. What we've done for the first time is we've bridged that gap between stick-built houses and tents. Since the Roman legions, if you needed something portable that was going to get you out of the rain and out of the weather, it was a tent. Then 40, 50, 60 years ago, they came up with these trailers. But trailers are just metal that rust, they tweak, the doors won't open, the windows won't shut, and by the way, in a hurricane or a tornado, they just become a projectile. As opposed to a dome that, if it's anchored down properly, especially if you shotcrete it, is a storm shelter. But even if you don't shotcrete it, it'll take any hurricane, any size, anywhere, and you are safe inside, assuming that you don't you're not below the tidal surge, and assuming that you don't get hit by a bus flying through the air or something. But boy, you can't find a building that's safer, that goes up as fast as a tent and is as portable as a tent. Folks and John was talking about second sources of income. We've never discussed this on John's show before, but InnerShelter is always looking for people that have a marketing background, have a sales ability, and have the time and energy and the equipment to represent InnerShelter. We have sales reps around the world, and it's a very, very good way to make some extra income and at the same time be providing your friends and neighbors and communities with a building that has incredible market opportunities. I mean, backyard shops, spas, man caves, apartment rentals, RV park, camps, hunting, fishing lodges. The list goes on and on and on. Construction sites, mining camps. We are from the South Pole to the North Pole, and everywhere in between, and a coffee shop. You betcha. I know you don't have a lot of those in your Igloo Brew, baby, and you got 4 lines instead of 2. You can double your sales.
Absolutely.
So you must have got a signal and parked the car, huh?
Well, we did. It was touch and go there for a moment, but we got a strong signal. Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to my website at thelibertyman.com, you can educate yourself, and you'll find out very quickly that what's offered by InnerShelter is a blank canvas of all the different opportunities to get an insulation package, doors, windows, a floor system,
you get what you need, and you don't get what you have no use for. So it's an educational process to figure out what this is, and you may educate yourself and end up helping someone else who needs this kind of shelter for a vacation home or a rental property or a place to have their mother-in-law have a comfortable home. And you may end up helping somebody else with your own education, right, Don?
That's absolutely right. And John, I haven't told you yet, we had an interesting thing happen this last weekend. Usually Saturdays and Sundays are our slowest days on our website for obvious reasons. You know, people aren't in offices looking for things like this. And I'd gotten a call from a reporter earlier in the week who introduced himself as a reporter for the New York Times. And he said, you know, I'm doing a story on catastrophic events. He said, I keep running into your domes all over the place. Would you mind if I included you in my article? I said, well, I think that'd be okay.
Yeah,
so,
twist my arm. Twist my arm.
I said, would you like me to send you some pictures? And he said, well, I hadn't really thought about pictures, but what the heck, if you got a good high res one, send it to me. So I sent him like a whole bunch of pictures, and by golly, on Saturday, I get a call from a guy that says, hey, I just saw you on the Drudge Report. And I want one of your domes. I said, the Drudge Report, how, frankly, I know everybody else reads it, but I'd heard about it, but I'd never really taken a look at it. And I go,
they're huge. They're huge.
Yeah. There was something like there was something like 30 million people that had looked at it in 24 hours. And in the Drudge Report was this article out of the New York Times, and the title of the article was How to Survive an Apocalypse. And there was 10 recommendations on how to survive. They had, make sure you have a weapon, make sure you have, some food stacked up, and number 7 was have a place to go and get away and that's safe and livable. And there was a picture of one of our domes with a link to our website, my name, the name of the company, and a really nice little write-up about why these domes are perfect after a natural disaster. We got 10,000 hits on my website on a Sunday. My server literally melted down. My wife is still trying to catch up with the emails. Right now I've still got 4,800 I haven't answered yet.
You need some administrative support there. It sounds like, Don.
Yeah. We've got some. Okay.
We got a break. We'll be back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
No worries.
Gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 28th September, visiting with Don Kubley, the CEO of Intershelter Domes. And we got a caller on hold. We got Jim in Missouri. Good morning, Jim.
Yeah, hi, John and Don.
Hello, Jim. Go ahead.
Jim in Missouri, how are you, sir? Hello all the way from Alaska.
Hey, good talking with you. Hey, question, Don. A few weeks back you had mentioned that you guys were developing more elongated, more like a airplane hangar type.
Yes, sir. We're calling them the Q huts. Do you remember the old Quonset hut they used to use in World War II? There's still tens of thousands of. They were just made of tin, but they were very utilitarian. We're making one that looks almost identical to that, except instead of being made of tin that rusts and blows away, it's made of fiberglass, just like my regular domes. And you can get one that's 20 feet in diameter, regular dome, or you can get 20 by 30, 20 by 40, 20 by 50, all the way up to 20 by 100. And you can either have a half of a dome on each end, so it really looks kind of like a caterpillar, or you can have a flat surface on either or both ends with a garage size or style door in it that'll take a small truck or a forklift. Yeah, we're making those in India.
Are those already completed? They're in production?
Yes, sir, they are.
Awesome. That's all I had. Thanks.
Yeah, now, those are not up on my site yet, but they're going to be probably in the next couple days. And I'll tell you that that factory, what we had in mind was trying to help these poor refugees that are running around under the stars tonight. Most people don't know how many there are, and the big difference between a refugee and a homeless person is a homeless person is out there for socioeconomic or mental issues. Refugees are running to keep their heads from being sawed off by these savage ISIS guys. And there's 65 million, or their houses have been destroyed in battle in the conflict over there. 65 million people are refugees tonight, and so that's why we built that facility over there. And we're our first big contract is with Bangladesh.
Well, that's awesome.
It is.
I look forward to seeing it on the site. Thanks.
I'll get it up there straight away, Jim. It was nice talking to you, sir. Thank you for the call. And feel free. Yep, you bet, sir.
Now, once they're up on the website, Don, they will be available for sale and delivery in the United States also?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good. Any time frame for getting them up there on the website?
My guess is they'll be up there, if not tomorrow, by early next week.
All right. So it sounds like you're having some growing pains with this attention from the New York Times and Drudge Report.
Yeah, and boy, it hurts so good. It hurts so good. Yeah, I was stunned. Literally, our computer systems were just melting down. It was amazing.
So I'm kind of interested. Is the corporate headquarters for Intershelter in a dome itself?
No. We do have some remote sites in various places where we use domes. In fact, I'm flying over to Hilo, Hawaii on Sunday. They're doing a big homeless. The people on the Big Island have learned about what the people on Oahu are doing with our domes, and I'll be working out of a dome over there. But no, our corporate headquarters in Alaska are in regular buildings.
All right. Well. That's fascinating. The Drudge Report is, I would say, in the top 10 of places people get their news. Drudge is the first place I go for news every morning and at the end of every day.
I'm a believer.
Oh yeah, well after what happened, I guess you are. Here's our Bob.
Yeah, I had no idea. This guy called and said, "Hey, I just read you on the Drudge Report." I said, "You got to be kidding me!" I said, "Well,"
right.
And he sent me a link to it, and there we were.
Hold that thought. We got a break. We'll be right back.
Okay, no worries.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. I've worked with men and women involved in the high-end shelters for years. With the Ozark Survival Homestead, you get things you don't get with the high-end shelters. You get a opportunity to be in the bunker, of course. You also get a home, a 60 by 90 lot. You get your storable food, your livestock share, your garden, greenhouse share, your seed bank share. One person to have everything they need, right at $25,000. For a family of three, $37,000. You really need to check this out. It's very unique. At my website, you'll see the Ozark Survival Homesteads on the left side of my homepage. Go there, read that one page, fill out the form with your name, your email address, and your telephone number, and I will forward that to the guys and gals at the Ozark Survival Homesteads. Check it out. You'll be very glad you did. Thank you very much.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 28th of September. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Our project, it is all the listeners. One human being cannot possibly look at hundreds of thousands of hours of movies and TV shows going back more than 60 years. Our project of finding images of continents with new coastlines continues to move forward. You don't need to do anything except what you already do. Watch television shows, watch movies. When you find an image of a continent with new coastlines, get that image to me, and you get your choice of any of my 5 DVDs as a thank you. Our list is long and growing. We continue to find images in places you wouldn't expect, such as Louisiana Flip and Move. About 4 weeks ago, I believe it was August 19th, if I remember correctly, about 5 weeks ago now, they had an image of North America with half of Mexico underwater and Florida gone. Fascinating image. Also, my website, of course, are energy cleaners. I sell energy cleaners. It's my home business. If you buy an energy cleaner, I'm the guy that packs them up and ships it. If you buy a mattress pad, I'm the guy that reconfigures the mattress pad and ships them also. Do your homework, study up on the energy cleaner, make your decision. You can buy your energy cleaner right at my website at thelibertyman.com, only $285, shipping included to American zip codes. Yes, I take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, and Sesame sent to my address at thelibertyman.com. You can call my toll-free auto line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Rosing with Don Kubley, the CEO of Intershelter Domes, a company that's getting nationwide and worldwide attention, helping people get the housing they need that will be safe and sanitary and maintenance-free on the outside for many decades into the future, and most of all, be very cost-effective. Right, Don?
Oh, you bet. I mean, try building anything stick-built for, less than $12,000 that's going to be there 30, 40, 50 years from now. And I'll, by the way, protect you all that time. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. We've filled a huge gap. I was discussing earlier with your listeners about the fact that the way we look at it, for the first time since the Romans, we bridged that gap between tents and stick-built houses, and it's a pretty dang big niche, I'll tell you right now.
Well, it is, and these horrific events of these hurricanes and earthquakes both are bringing the topic of shelter to the forefront, and I don't believe an earthquake would have very much effect on one of these shelters, would it, Don?
No. There's no earthquake that's going to touch these things. The only thing that could happen in an earthquake that could be threatening to somebody that has a dome is if a crevice opens up directly underneath your building and you. And if that happens, that's between you and God. You know, I mean, you really did something wrong. I mean, during the big quake in '64, the Good Friday quake in Alaska, two whole blocks of Anchorage just went right into the ocean. I mean, just disappeared. And so, you know, we can't help you if that happens. But I mean, as far as just what killed most people in Mexico and in Haiti and other places, especially in third world countries where their building standards are basically just brick and mortar with very little support systems in them. What happens is that when it starts shaking, the bricks fall and hit them in the head and kill them, or the concrete breaks and they get crushed by the concrete. With a dome, it's just going to flex. It's just going to move with the earth. And there's nothing going to be falling on your head.
Right. Well, of course, depending on how you finish out the interior, if you got shelves with trinkets on it, the trinkets are going to get shook off the shelving, but the structure itself is going to be intact.
The other thing is that after the earthquake, what happens is people are afraid to go back into the buildings because they've been damaged, they've got cracks in them, things are already falling off. And inevitably, after a big quake, you have aftershocks. And when you've got a building that has been damaged by the first really big quake, what happens with an aftershock is things start falling off these buildings. And in an urban situation, in a dense place like Mexico City, which is one of the densest cities on the planet, is you know, these people are sleeping in the streets because they're afraid to go in the building, and when there's an aftershock, a brick will fall off or a windowsill will break and come out. And if you're in a tent or just sleeping on the curb, you're going to get hurt if one of these things hits you. With the dome, unless a bloody wall falls over, a vast majority of these projectiles are just going to bounce off because of the shape of it. It's very difficult for things to hit it directly, yeah? And they're extremely stout.
Oh, yes.
I'll tell you, if I was in Mexico City with aftershocks and big buildings all around me, I'd much rather have a dome over my head than a tent.
Absolutely. That tent's not going to, you know, it may stop a soda can from hurting you, but no, it's not going to stop anything of any weight from coming down and penetrating the canvas. No, not at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And so anyway, yeah, there's just a lot of big pluses to these buildings, John. We're pretty dang excited about what's going on. I told you about the gentleman from Los Angeles that's talking about 40,000 units for Puerto Rico, yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you fill up, I guess, 40-foot containers with these things. They're already pre-packed and ready to go, aren't they?
Yeah. Any size container, 40-footers, 53-footers, they pull it up, we'll fill it up.
Yeah. And then they're loaded onto the ship, and the ship arrives or offloaded. What about expertise for setting these things up? Is it pretty much people on their own, or do you send people down there with them?
No, that's one of the things. I'm going to send you my congressional testimony, John. One of the things that is really a big plus to these is you don't need a bunch of carpenters and plumbers and electricians working Davis-Bacon scale to put these buildings up. You don't even have to read. I mean, literally, our instruction manual on how to put these up, the original one was in cartoon form.
Right.
I mean, it couldn't get more basic. You line up the bolt holes and you stick a bolt through it, and you tighten the nut, and that's it. It just simply could not get more simple. And so, let's do a hypothetical. Let's say you've got another Katrina, or let's say the Irma that hit Houston. After it dries up, you just drive down the block with a container full of these domes. You kick a dome out in the front yard of all these houses that are going to have to be gutted and rebuilt. And instead of like in Katrina, where they put tens of thousands in the Superdome, you know, and by the way, when that happens, they separate families. You know, the women and the children go one way, and the fathers and uncles go the other way. And that's traumatic enough. I mean, as if you need any more trauma or stress in your life, you've just lost everything you own. And they separate your family. They take you to a room full of strangers, and Lord knows, some of the, inevitably when you get that many people, you're going to have some bad players in there. And so with a dome, they can kick a dome out in somebody's front yard. The family themselves can put it up. I've sent you the picture of that little 8-year-old girl putting the cap panel on that one dome with her mom and her father, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That was fun. Yep.
Yeah. Well, so a guy and his wife and his 8-year-old daughter put up their dome. So the family can put up their own shelter and live in it, stay on their property, protect what few belongings they still have left on this planet from being looted, and stay in their neighborhood with their friends and neighbors, near their church, near their clergy, near their families, and rebuild their lives. It's a perfect answer. And this was all in my testimony before Congress, before the Homeland Security Committee. There was 20 members of this committee sitting in front of me, and they it was unanimous. Everybody agreed. This is the answer. I'm frankly amazed that at this point in time, I think after this one, they're going to be, that there isn't tens of thousands of these stockpiled for FEMA. In fact, I have letters from the heads of the Oregon National Guard, the Washington National Guard, the Alaska National Guard, the TAGs, the generals, begging FEMA to stockpile these for the next big quake.
Well, good for them. Well, what these generals have done, when you write these memorandums and these letters, they put themselves on the good side of the equation, so that, and this is the way big organizations work, Don, and you already know this, but for ladies and gentlemen, when the next big event happens and FEMA has not done what was suggested by these generals, then FEMA looks bad, because they had their heads up, they had the opportunity to get the domes, and if they have not gotten the domes, then they're made to look like complete idiots, aren't they, Don?
Well, it's not just the generals. I had the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee write a letter like that. And it's, right. By the way, it's the Homeland Security Committee that funds FEMA. FEMA is under the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, I've got a 25-year congressman who's chairman of a full committee who wrote a very similar letter saying, hey, let's do this. But FEMA is just, and this is why I tell people, for heaven's sakes, be prepared. Don't wait for the cavalry to ride over the hill, because if FEMA is the cavalry, you're going to be waiting a while. And I know that there's a lot of dedicated professionals out there with FEMA that do the best they can, but any time you've got a ship 1,000 times bigger than the Titanic, it takes a long time to turn that baby. And and Homeland Security is a behemoth bureaucracy. They send you a contract for 10 domes, and it's 380 pages, and you need governmental architects, engineers, and lawyers to be able to read it. It's impossible it's just almost impossible to do business with them. Luckily, now I've got companies like DynCorp that are used to those contracts that are representing me to FEMA. So, I'm using.
Yeah. Well, DynCorp has administrative staff that were specifically trained to do that, and that's pretty much all they do is deal with these complex, convoluted contracts.
In fact, they hire former FEMA employees because they're the only ones that can read these damn things.
Well, it's a very specialized and very unique skill set, to say the least, that any normal human being would not want to be around. But if you got the skill set, God bless you, go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
For example, when I was working for a law firm, I would do an incorporation. People in an incorporated company, I would do one. I would take 15 minutes of my lunch break and do the incorporation papers. Because I'd done so many of them, it was no big deal. So it's just another skill set. But your company is going to be growing exponentially, isn't it, Don?
It already is, yeah. And you know what? Yeah. That's all right with me, because we've worked a long time to get to where we're at. And I'm very proud of what we're doing. It's there's a lot of things.
A 20-year overnight success. A 20-year overnight success.
That's me. Me and Janis Joplin. I got a picture of her on my wall.
Well, she was a sweetheart. I would have loved to have known Janis in person. I would have loved to have met her.
I would have loved to have seen her. I'd love to have seen her. She could really belt it out.
Yep, she was.
We're dating ourselves now, though, John.
Well, we are, but that was our generation. Well, Don, you're going to have to be opening new manufacturing facilities. It sounds like, or expanding existing ones.
I'm actually probably, after my trip to Hilo, going to be flying into Florida and firing up a huge facility down there, a huge facility. And yeah, we are. And I'm probably going to be looking for more. In fact, if there's anybody out there in your audience right now this morning that owns a large fiberglass manufacturing facility, I could really use one in the Northeast. I could use one in Tornado Alley down through the Midwest, and I could use one in Texas. If anybody out there is the owner of a fiberglass manufacturing facility, a fiberglass fabricator, whether you make boats, whether you make, water slides, whatever you make, cars, they make airplanes out of this stuff, this composite. If you've got a facility that manufactures fiberglass products and you have a lot of excess space and you want some new jobs, call me. Because I'm looking for you.
Okay. What would be the best way to contact you, Don?
The office number, 907-789-9273 in Alaska. And it couldn't be simpler. We would, provide the molds and or a building you make the molds off of. Obviously, there's a non-disclosure, non-compete agreement involved, and away you go. This is not rocket science. That's the beauty of the dome, is as architecturally brilliant as the inventor was, and that the building is, the actual production of it is not that difficult, and it's very quick and easy.
Well, if you forget Don's phone number, most of my listeners know how to contact me. Just contact me, and I'll put you in touch with Don. Just give me an email. Well, Don, this must be an exciting time of your life, and for you and your wife to have all these opportunities and be moving forward to manufacture these homes, deliver these homes, literally all over the planet and all 24 time zones, right?
It's true. Yeah, it really is. And you've seen the pictures that we are literally from the South Pole to the North Pole, literally, physically, North Pole, South Pole. And, this project we've got going in the Marshall Islands in the South Pacific is a big deal, too. That's the United States Army. They're putting $1 billion onto that island. They're going to sink it. They're putting so much stuff on that island, and by golly, we're right in the middle of that one too. So, yeah, we're from the coldest to the hottest places on the planet, and they work just as good in either one of them.
Is the military using these in the Middle East? I'm kind of curious.
In the Middle East, yes,
Iraq,
but not
Afghanistan.
Yes, but not as big as it's going to be. That's what we're doing with the DynCorps of the world. We're talking to a couple of them. They've proposed to. They call them their client. Their client is the military. 150-man rapid deployable camps. The war on terror is going to be generational, and these days of Bagram Air Force Base are over. From now on, it's going to be special ops, and it's going to be hit and run, whack 'em and stack 'em. So they're going to need.
Hold that thought. We got a break. We're going to last break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Jared Moore here on Thursday, the 28th September, visiting with Don Kubley, the CEO of Enter Shelter Domes. There's a link on my website at thelibertyman.com to see the beautiful photographs, all the specifications for the different opportunities to purchase these dome homes, set them up, and finish them in a way that's customized just for you. Right, Don?
That's right, and I mean customized. Have I sent you any pictures of the domes going up in Mount McKinley National Park and up by Fairbanks for the Asian winter tourists?
I don't believe so. I don't believe I've seen those. No.
Oh, I'm going to send them to you. It's stunning. The whole top half of the roof is glass. It's actually plexiglass, but it's like sleeping under the stars, and you can lay there under your electric blanket and watch the northern lights. It's an amazing. I've been wanting to do this for years, and I finally got a group of guys that wanted it so bad they went and found a guy. You know, it's hard to find a machine big enough to make these panels. They're 7.5 feet wide. In diameter,
right.
And they finally found the guy, and they're just stunning buildings. I'm very excited about it.
Right.
And
so you chose plexiglass instead of Lexan.
Exactly. And so, you know, for you folks out there listening, two of the fastest growing industries in the world are glamping, which is, you know, it's a combination of remote camping, getting out and enjoying the beauty of nature, but having a 5-star hotel comforts around you. That's our domes. That's our middle name. The other thing is tiny houses. You know, there's this big tiny house movement. Well, golly, you know, I mean, we got 320 square feet or just under it. It's the definition of a small house. It's actually bigger than most of the tiny houses. But the difference is, instead of costing $75,000-$80,000 like most of those tiny houses, you can be completely outfitted and have the interior done for under $15,000. The building itself is in the $12,000 range, and you can finish it off as fancy or as basic as you want. So it's like John says, it's a smorgasbord. You can my moose hunting lodge has 4 bunks, a picnic table, and a bar in it. You know, but you know, you can trick these things out and have disco balls hanging from the roof if you want. You know.
Absolutely. Well, the only limit is your budget and your imagination. That's the only limit.
That's it. That's exactly right. Yep. So
you and I both continue to be surprised by the new things people come up with.
I'm going to start. It's been a while since I've sent you some new pictures. I'm going to send you some pictures of these ones at these Northern Lights domes. They are absolutely stunning.
Well, I look forward to that, Don. Don, we're pretty much out of time. I don't want to be cut off by the music. Look forward to having you back next Thursday, sir.
I love being cut off by your music. My wife is just stunned. I'm marching around the house here at 6:00 in the morning in Alaska. I want to get the soundtrack to your radio show, dude.
Well, maybe we can make this happen. It's changed over the years, but maybe we can make this happen.
Okay, my friend. Well, you have a great week. It was an honor talking with you as always. God bless, and thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. Okay, that's it for today. We're going to have Tom Berryhill with Emergency Communications tomorrow morning, and Dr. Myers with Health. In the meantime, get your medical supplies, energy cleaner, essential oils now while you can, your firearms ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Have a fun, safe, productive day, and God bless America.